And I will make thy tongue cleave to the roof of thy mouth, that thou shalt be dumb, and shalt not be to them a reprover, for they are a rebellious house. But when I speak with thee, I will open thy mouth, and thou shalt say unto them, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh power, He that heareth, let him hear, and he that forbeareth, let him forbear, for they are a rebellious house. Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 26 and 27. Shabbat Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechak, Kodash. Double honors to our venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. All right, so Brother Haran coming back at you with another lesson, lowly to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. And I'm going to jump right into this article here, which is actually inspired by a lesson that I was watching from the elder brother Yashuamba. Okay, and basically going into news and prophecy, and basically going into the times that we're in concerning the digital transformation of the whole entire planet. Okay, you got all this new laws, regulations, and basically Trojan horses. All right, that's all leading to the Motb. Okay, having this concept of, digital identification in order to use online platforms that we've always been using. You have the YouTubes and the Twitters and the Facebooks and all these different things. All of a sudden, these governments around the world are banding together and saying that they need to protect children. Okay, they're passing all these child safety acts and so on and so forth. But for those who are in the know, we understand that this is just another step in order to bring about the Motb. Okay, because ultimately it's all about identification. We always been saying that they're going to bring out the RFID, radio frequency identification. So of course they have to, groom people with these different forms of ID, and then once you get the people conformed to these kinds of identifications, all right, then you can use it as a control mechanism, and then you can start wielding your power. Of course, when you tie your ID to your ability to get your money from the bank, you got the deal right there. Okay, and of course, Trump signed the Genius Act, which pretty much, when you go into it, it says that they can dismantle or stop or burn somebody's digital currency. In other words, you cannot buy or sell if you can't prove your identification in this new world order. Okay, but they know people are not going to be okay with that type of shit. Well, most people will be, but the majority or the minority will be strong enough to build a resistance that they would like to do away with. Okay, so they did the whole test run with the CV. They saw the kind of resistance that they got, and ultimately they would like to get everyone, right? Because it's all, they would like to get everyone, but they know that there's going to be a percentage of people, all right, predominantly the elect, that are going to be the toughest task, which is going to be that strong resistance. Okay, but nonetheless, they're still going to do what they got to do because it's fulfilling biblical prophecy. All right, but just like we read in Ezekiel the third chapter, ultimately the Heavenly Father is going to shut us up. All right, and that's going to be the times where the calamities are hitting, because there will be no reason for us to be out here talking to you about calamities that's yet to come, because it's already going to be there. Okay, so let's read this. It says, when age verification becomes a Trojan horse for total surveillance. Okay, and I'm going to title this video, The Trojan Horse for the Motb. Okay, it says, at first glance, efforts to protect children online by requiring age verification seem like common sense. Who wouldn't want to keep vulnerable minds away from toxic content, online predators, or addictive algorithms? But beneath the well-meaning, stop. But beneath the well-meaning language of safety, this is quote-unquote safety, lies a troubling reality. The only way to verify age online is to identify the user, and once every digital door is locked until you prove who you are, the internet ceases to be a place of freedom and becomes something else entirely, a surveillance grid. Okay? Just look at what's happening in Australia. The government there has now banned anyone under 16 from having a YouTube account. Hey, come here. Bring your ass over here now. Let's go. Let's go. Sit down. Sit down. Let's go. says, going back, it says, just look at what's happening in Australia. The government there has now banned anyone under 16 from having a YouTube account. And I remember this was back in 2021. Yeah, 2021. I remember I was working and I saw they were talking about passing this e-safety for children in Australia. I remember that. And I actually did a lesson on it. Okay. I did a lesson on it. And now, fast forward 2025, it's already passed, as in it's fully in effect. You see, and we always say, pay attention to these countries. You got Australia, and then you got the UK. And of course, you could add Canada in there as well. But these three countries, for some reason, like we know, Australia is pretty much owned by the British, okay, the so-called royal family, as long as alongside Canada, okay, the predominantly pretty much all of the land of Canada is owned by the British family, the so-called royal family. When you go into something known as Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, okay, look into that. All right, that's pretty much the name of the so-called royal family, especially Queen Elizabeth and them. All right, and the kind of power that they have, but it's nothing in comparison to the Rothschilds and so on and so forth, right? But not to stray too far off the topic, going back to the article, it says that's on top of previous restrictions on platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. But here's the catch: to enforce it, platforms are being required to verify the age of every single user, not just those suspected of being underage. And that's the trap. Okay, that is very clever. But Esau, that's what he does. Scriptures tell you in the book of Genesis that the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. Okay, so these devils are very, very, very clever. All right, Psalm 64 tells you that they do a diligent search. Okay, and there's a reason why the scriptures attribute them to that of a serpent. All right, because they're very patient and they're very, very cunning. Okay, when we talk about serpent, we're not talking about a king cobra or damn anaconda. We're talking about the dragon. Okay, a dragon is referred to as a serpent. Okay, and the dragon has the highest form of intelligence is that of a dragon. Okay, so they have that high intelligence, so they're able to, manipulate, all right, the elements of the earth, manipulate the minds of the people, and so on and so forth, to wield their power in order to get the people to conform to whatever plans that they have for them. Okay, and that thing only works with deception, right? So once they are being exposed, the venom, so to speak, is not as effective. See what I'm saying? But they're still gonna bite. You know what I'm saying? It's just, if you're aware of it, then you know how to cure, that bite. But if you're not aware, that's when you die. Okay, so the deception runs deep. Okay, so this is all part of the deception. Okay, set up a platform requiring people to verify their age, right? But then if you're saying, oh, it's to protect children, who's to say that children are still going to be able to fake their IDs, right? So now you as an adult have to prove your ID to make sure that you're not underage, right? And that's just a step in the door, because then it goes into many different things as well. Once you have to prove your age, eventually you're going to have to prove your identity. All right, this is all going into show me your papers like Nazi Germany all over again. Okay, so continuing, it says, in other words, everyone will have to prove their age to use everyday online services. And while the exact method hasn't been finalized, one thing is clear. It will involve linking your online presence to some form of offline identity. So your ID, in America here, we got the real ID. Okay. There was actually an article going into something about Ghana. And I believe the elder Yashua actually mentioned it. Okay. That in Ghana, they have their own one ID system thing going on over there, and you can kind of use it for everything. All right, so that's another step into the MOTB. Okay, all these things are preliminary steps for them to finally, what's the verbiage that they use? They say iron out the kinks, so to speak. Right? They're gonna use these steps to iron out the kinks in order for them to finally unveil the MOTB, which is gonna be their goal. Okay. It says, whether through biometric scans government issued documents, or telecom verification, your digital self will be authenticated and logged. Okay? Think of blockchain, right? And that is where the real danger lies. The moment your everyday internet use becomes linked to your real world identity, a line has been crossed. Every click, every comment, every like, every video you watch, every purchase you make, every opinion you share becomes traceable. Think of blockchain. Okay? Blockchain, when you do one thing here, is linked to the next thing that you do, and they can always trace it back to those little chains that you were linked to. Okay? It says, not just by platforms, but by any government or entity with access to that system. Okay, and this system is going to be global. Okay, all these billions of dollars that's being spent is not just for data centers here in America. No, it's data centers in America that is interconnected to data centers around the world. There's a global thing. Okay, you notice back in 2021, 2022, around there, they started pushing this concept of global citizens. Okay, global citizens. So they're doing away with the differences with countries and differences in IDs and so on and so forth. Everything is just going to be uniformed. Okay, that will fulfill biblical prophecy. Calls it all. Okay, all in the Greek word for all is pas, P-A-S. Okay, which means individually and then ultimately collectively. Individually goes into your ID, identification. That's what makes you an individual. But they don't want to just get your paper ID like we've been saying. They want your biometric ID. That's what really makes you unique, because you can't fake that. You see? And pretty much they want to be like the Most High, as it tells you in 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. Okay? Because for so long, your innermost thoughts and secrets was only the Heavenly Father could actually go into that and find out what you're really thinking or how you really feel. But now man wants to be like God. He wants to be able to put devices inside of you, underneath your skin, in your brain, in order to know what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and so on and so forth. All right, in order for him to have a system known as a pre-crime database, that means that they know what you're thinking. Before you do what you're going to do, we're going to stop you. That type of shit. And we know what crime really is going to mean in this New World Order system. It's going to mean those who don't comply with the system, you'll be deemed as a criminal. That's it. Okay? That's it. So continuing, it says, your digital footprint, right? Your carbon footprint, digital footprint, same thing, is all going to be your CHIP, right? It's no longer just metadata. It is you. This isn't a paranoid fantasy. It's the logical direction this path leads. Hear that? Australia may be the latest to roll this out, but other countries are watching. In Europe, digital identity wallets are in the works. In the US, lawmakers have floated age verification laws that would require platforms to collect government IDs. In the UK, age assurance, that's in quotes now, age assurance is already being written into law. Okay? What begins as a measure to protect minors quickly becomes a framework for identifying everyone. Okay? And once that digital identity system is in place, hear this out, it will not be used solely for safety. It will be used for control. And that is their end goal. Okay? How do we get the control of the people? They've been talking about misinformation and all these different things, online censorship, all these different things that they've been talking about, right? In order to stop people from having these kinds of communications and spreading misinformation online. They never really tell you what misinformation is. It's just a blanket, vague statement. Right? It's just a word, misinformation and disinformation. Like, okay. But that's just the trigger words that they're using to push about their witchcraft and to getting people to fall into that docile state so they could come drink of that cup, that Babylonian juice. Okay? So it says here, we've already seen where this kind of system leads. In China, the government has implemented a vast social credit system that assigns every citizen a score based on their behavior, both online and offline. If you speak out against the government, break a minor rule, or associate with someone who's considered undesirable, your score can drop. That's the social credit score. Okay? And it's coming here to America. You best believe it. It says the consequences are real. Loss of travel privileges, right? A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able to, right? Job opportunities, no man might buy or sell. School access, that's all going into buying and selling, right? And even public shaming, all right? And ultimately, that's going to lead to the beheading, all right? The public shaming, it may start off with maybe they might post your picture on the internet, or whatever, right? Oh, this guy's we're looking for this guy or these men or whatever the case may be. If you find them, this is what we're going to do to them and shit like that. We need to keep our places safe, right? For the safety of the community, for the safety of the country, we got to eliminate these people. We got to attack these people, just like what they're doing with the whole migrants thing. Oh, our communities are not safe. We need to go after these gang members and MS-13 dudes and all these extra stuff. But it's like, is that really what this is all about? Or that's just another smokescreen to get the dumbass American people to believe this shit and just to go along with it, right? So continuing says, cameras, databases, and biometric tracking work together to monitor citizens in real time, right? Think of Palantir, okay? Think of Oracle, okay? It says the system runs on the exact infrastructure we are now discussing. Digital identity tied to surveillance and enforced conformity. It is not a distant nightmare. It is a living warning. What begins as protection becomes pretext, and what begins with children will eventually include us all. Okay, so think of this. They've been pushing for children to get microchipped. What begins with children will include us all, except for the elect. Okay, it says, once anonymity online is lost, it will not be recovered. Once identity is required to speak, to watch, to share, or to explore, freedom will slowly suffocate under the weight of its own rules. Okay, and that's the plan, that's the goal. Okay, that's the goal. That's why even on YouTube now, you could share to a certain level of videos that you can share, right? A certain amount of videos you can share per 24-hour period. If you want to share more than that, you got to put your actual ID and all these different things. Okay, but they always use gradualism, right? They put this stuff out there a year or two in advance before the real thing starts to shake and bake, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So I went to Whole Foods the other day, and when you walk in there, they got the two options, right? They got the palm scan thing, and then they got the tap to go payment with your card thing, whatever. Cool. But the vibe when you walk in there is like, yo, a few years ago, it was just literally just pay and go. You're good to go, right? And then I remember when they came out with the whole Amazon One thing, we were talking about that. And now it's become part of the system where it's there as an option. See what I'm saying? At first it was like, oh shit, yo, it's a big thing, yo. Now it's just like people are just kind of used to it. And that's how gradualism works, right? They bring it out there, they let it sit around for a while, they get people kind of used to it, accustomed to it. Next thing you know, it becomes just the way things are doing, the way things are going, the way things are being done. Okay, so look no further than that, because the Motb is going to follow the same procedure, but this time it's going to be met with a lot more force, okay, to be able to enforce for people to take it. You know, it's going to be a lot of coercion and all kinds of stuff, demonization, things like that, just word games and shit like that, laws and stuff, right? So continue, it says, yes, children need protection, but so do citizens. But we don't need the government to come and protect you, though. I mean, it's not that serious. We don't need the government to be in every affair of people. The government shouldn't be the ones I've said this before, right? The government should not be the ones to be responsible for the protection of your children. If you're an adult and you can't protect your own kids, you shouldn't be having children, period. Okay? But we've gotten so far from regular living standards and morals to the point where now a government can step in and tell you, hey, we're going to protect your children, but in order for us to do that, you got to give up all your freedoms and your rights. And people go along with it. So they deserve everything that's coming to them, man. I can't wait to see people get chipped, man, because at that point I know you're done. It's over with. All right, Revelation 14 and 9 on down will definitely be a good time to see these people get cooked, man. All right, because they don't listen. All right, and they have no excuse, because you know how many videos we've done on Motb over the past decade, if not more, starting from my elders and apostles of Great Millstone on down. Come on, man. All right, there's no excuses, bro. No excuses. All right, we gave you the full blueprint. Like the Apostle Paul said, I have not shunned to declare unto you the full counsel of the Heavenly Father. Okay, so we did that. We did our job, man. Okay, and we continue to do so. Okay, up until the Lord says, all right, it's no more, no more, no more. That's it. Okay, it says, and the question, going back to your article, and the question we must ask is this: is the cost of protecting a few worth stripping freedom from everyone? The answer is no. It'll always be no. But these people gonna make it a yes because they're stupid. All right, they're just dumb. Anyway, there are other ways to safeguard young people, tools that empower parents, schools, and communities. But a one-size-fits-all solution requires every internet user to submit to identity checks is not protection. It is pretext. And that pretext leads us toward a world where your every online moment is recorded, analyzed, and stored. Okay? Where dissent is noticed, not by people, but by robots. And you wait till they start giving these robots the ability to actually perform, tasks like the police and the military and so on and so forth. Right? The killer robots, the Skynets, the Terminators. Yeah, it's coming. It says, speaking of it's coming, I saw a video today. It's funny. They were doing this robot test, and the robot could run, I think, 29 miles per hour, if I'm not mistaken. That shit, hey, I said, yo, if you being chased by this thing, boy, you're going to need spiritual power, man. Because if Usain Bolt can't outrun this motherfucker here, then nobody stands a chance. All right, so we're going to definitely need that spiritual power, that aid from the Heavenly Father. Okay, so continuing, it says, where dissent is noticed, where opinions are scored, where silence becomes safer than speech. This is not paranoia. It is the price of passivity. A digital ID may seem harmless, but it's the foundation of something far more dangerous. A system where the right to exist freely online is no longer assumed, but earned and revocable. Okay? We must not trade liberty for illusion. Once you need permission to log in, you've already logged out of freedom. Okay? Once you need permission to log in, you've already logged out of freedom. Okay? And this is not just, the online part is just to fashion the behaviors offline. That's all it is. Because everybody kind of is tied to online. Everyone has an online presence to a degree nowadays, right? And the system is built to require you to have some form of online presence. You know what I'm saying? So, you got to have internet. Shit, my field of work is all about the internet. I work with, getting people internet and so on and so forth. So I see it. I see the kind of equipment that we have to use. I see how we have to do the jobs, all these different things. I'm watching it all. Okay, it's all unfolding and they're moving quickly. I'm talking about like every 3 to 6 months, we got some new shit that we're, learning about that we got to go, implement. So we're seeing the building blocks to it. All right, we're seeing everything being put together. And my field is considerably slow, right? Compared to because my field depends on the people that actually are creating this new system. See what I'm saying? So my field is just aiding in that, but I can't do my job until they have a direction, right? Until they have the equipment, until they have a set standard. See what I'm saying? Then we come in and implement that. You know what I'm saying? So if we're moving fast, imagine the people who are setting the groundwork for us to come in and work. They're moving at a whole nother level of speed. Okay, so yeah, man, these things, it's happening quick, man. It's happening very, very fast, man. It's just, the changes are just happening. One day you wake up and, my bank, they sent me a notification that, because I could have this preview thing, so I could just swipe and then I could check how much money I have in my account and so on and so forth at that time. Every time I do it nowadays, they keep saying, hey, just so you know, the preview thing is going to be taken away soon. And I got mad when I saw that, but I understand why they're doing that, because they have to do that. So now every time I log in, I have to do some form of authentication. When I want to pay an Easy Pass toll or whatever, they'll have to send me another, like if I log in, username, password. Typically, that's all you need. But once you do that, they're going to say, oh, you need to give us this code. Now you got to go to your email or your text messages and then find the code, and then they'll send you the code, and then you could type in the code, and then oh, okay, you are who you say you are. So now we can open up the account for you. And that's just easy pass. Just to fucking pay them. So how much more everything else when you actually need to be on these platforms, right? That's when they're going to get a lot of people because you have to work. You have to pay for your groceries. You have to pay for your bills. You got all these different things are going to require you to have some form of multiple step verification. And that is why they're doing this, to frustrate you enough where that one step, which is the chip, you don't need no verification for that. Once they scan you, you're good. See, you don't need to prove your identity anymore. Once you have the chip, you are you. And it's tied into everything. Okay? With a scan, it pulls up your whole history, your health records, everything about you. What you've been saying online is all tied into your actual chip ID. Okay? So everything is all tied in. That's why they need to have this. It's very important. Okay? It's very, very important. It's that unique ID that they need, which is to have that CHIP in you. All right? But yeah, so that's pretty much done on the article. Just want to pull up a few precepts here and then we're going to go close it out. All right? Get this real quick here. All right? Because this is what we're waiting for. Ultimately, the elect, starting with the 144,000, we will get that victory over this beast. All right? Over this system. It's already written. Okay? It's just about to play out. Okay, but in order for that, the good part to play out, we got to go through the bad part, the crazy part. Okay, there's a book of Revelation chapter 20 and verse 4, it says, and I saw thrones and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them, and I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua. So that's the part where they're going to start mocking us and persecuting us is all part of what's going to lead to the beheading, because we will resist this new system. Okay, we are basically we're the only ones that can kick into retrograde, right? We can go back retro. We can revive the old ways of doing things. So this new world, new shit that's going on, we're not with that, and we're going to stand out like a sore thumb. So they're going to try to do something to us. They're going to try to come against us. Some brothers are going to get beheaded and so on and so. That's all biblical prophecy. Okay. But ultimately, if you get beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, yo, you in great company. I mean, damn. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, this guy brother got his head beheaded. He got his head chopped off. All right, because he stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. That is a huge, like kudos, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, none of us want to go through it. But if you have to go through it, man, that's like, yo, your name is etched in history forever. Like, think of how Yahushua spoke about Antipas, his faithful martyr. Okay, if you see what the judgment that Antipas had to go through, okay, they put him in the belly of a damn cow that's made out of I think it was iron or some shit, you know, and it was one of those gods that these demons worship. Okay, in Pergamum, I think that's where it happened. All right, and they put him in there. And they lit it up. They lit the thing underneath. So he's burning inside, and he became almost like a sacrifice. Okay, and all because what he stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. Okay, so when they were burning him, the cow, you know, the smoke coming from its nose and then its eyes turning red and all these different things, they were praising their gods and so on and so forth. So they sacrificed him to their gods. Okay, so he was sacrificed literally for these people who are, you know, these heathens who actually took him out. You know, but that's all because what he stood stiffly, all right, in what he believed in, which is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. All right, so we all gonna go through that. Okay, we all gonna go through that. All right, so continuing, it says, actually, hold on one second. Let me finish this real quick. Let me get this here. There you go. All right. So I wasn't the right precept here. So going back to Revelation 20 and 4, it says, and I saw thrones and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua and for the word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years. Okay, so those men, those elect men that John saw, all right, with the crowns on their heads, okay, that's it starts now. They're watching us now. They know who we are. They know, oh, these men are not gonna succumb to what we're gonna do. So they already preparing things to take us out. See what I'm saying? But ultimately, yeah, you could do all this, but at the end of it, what does it say? It says that we reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years. So you thought in your mind you took us out, but we come back and now we are reigning, meaning you are subject to us. Ooh, revenge is sweet when it's gotten the right way. Okay, and if Yahushua is going to get his vengeance, and we're going to be joint heirs with him for 1,000 years, we're going to be getting a whole lot of vengeance. You know what I'm saying? A whole lot. So yeah, you could take us out now, but guess what? This place is over with anyway. If you take any brother out right now, his time with the Lord before Yahushua's kingdom is established is very short. So his what they call get your licks back. Yeah, he gonna get his licks back, but he's gonna wait a short time. Yahushua had to wait 2 days in the spirit world, 2,000 years for us. If you get put out right now by Esau in this system, you don't gotta wait 2,000 more years. You going in the spirit world, you're gonna be like milliseconds. That's how close we are to this thing, man. All right, milliseconds. Okay, but ultimately, like we've been saying, starting from my elders and apostles of Great Millstone on down, that this is all leading to the famine of the word. When you have all this surveillance and all this stuff, it's going eventually it's all being something that they're setting up to stop this truth from going out. But it's over with. It's over with. All right, it's over with. There's the book of Amos, chapter 8, verse 11 says, "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but for hearing the words of the Lord Yahweh." Okay, and it's going to be just like in the time of Samuel. See if we can get that real quick in the book of First Samuel. Okay, how they said that the word of the Lord was precious in those days. Why? Because there ain't no prophets out there. Okay, let's get that. Book of First Samuel chapter 3 verse 1 says, "And the child Samuel ministered unto the Lord Yahweh before Eli," and Eli was a priest at that time. It says, "And the word of the Lord Yahweh was precious in those days. There was no open vision." Okay, it was very rare to get those visions. It was uncommon. You see, so the same thing is going to happen now, where it's going to be very rare to run into a man of the Lord or to run into a video from any of the brothers or the elders or bishops and going into the breakdowns and giving you the true understanding. Like here it is, you got rivers of living water. I mean, the apostles going to videos every day. Brothers going to videos every day. You're getting edified every single day, literally. But think of how much edification is going out right now. This is the most you're going to get. All right, it don't get better than this. Because after this, when they shut it all down, it's going to be the complete opposite, where you're going to see no videos whatsoever online. Because those kind of videos are going to be targeted and labeled with AI. They're going to label them as extreme content. You know, truth becomes extreme content. Boom. We can't do that. Because why? Remember, Child Safety Act. Children can't watch this. And you got to prove your identity to be able to watch these kinds of videos. You have to prove your identity to even post these kinds of videos. And woe unto you if you try to post videos like that. All right. But yeah, man, we're there. We're there. All right. We are there. It's not like, oh, we don't know. We're there. We're there. We're there. All right. We're there. Okay. Let's get this last one here. It's a book of Ezekiel chapter 7. Start from verse 24. It says, "Wherefore I will bring the worst of the heathen, and they shall possess their houses. I will also make the pomp of the strong to cease, and their holy place shall be defiled. Destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none." And that's all going into what? The time of trouble, the time of terror, the time of trembling. Okay? Fear. All right? "Mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor. Then shall they seek a vision of the prophet, but the law shall perish from the priest and the counsel from the ancients." Remember, there is no new thing under the sun. So things that were happening back then, you know, Jacob was going through persecution and so on and so forth underneath the Babylonians and the Syrians and the Persians and so on. So we're looking at, you fast forward today, modern day Assyrians, modern day Babylonians, okay? These things are all going to play a role again. Modern day Egyptians, okay? It says, "The king shall mourn, and the prince shall be clothed with desolation, and the hands of the people of the land shall be troubled. I will do unto them after their way, and according to their deserts will I judge them. And they shall know that I am the Lord." And that's what we've been telling you. Okay? Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is not to be messed with. And if he's giving you his word in abundance, eventually he's going to take it away, and it will be scarce, as is written in Amos 8:11. Okay? That's what's coming. It's going to be a double, triple, quadruple whammy. All right? And there'll be no escape if you're not of the elect. Okay? So anyway, I'm going to leave it off there. Lord willing, you're edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash, the water Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. And until next time, Shalom.